There are millions of octopuses living in the oceans right now, and humans have eaten them for thousands of years. We eat fish, shrimp, crab, squid, oysters, and even animals that look far stranger than an octopus. In Mediterranean countries and parts of Asia, octopus is already considered a delicacy. So here's the strange part: if octopus is edible, nutritious, and already part of human cuisine, why hasn't it become a normal everyday meat like chicken or beef? Why don't we see octopus burgers, octopus steaks, or refrigerated packages of octopus in every supermarket? The answer isn't one thing. It's biology, farming, economics, and something much deeper about the animal itself. And once you understand all of them together, the question gets a lot harder to ignore. Let's start with the biology, because an octopus is almost the opposite of the animals we've turned into livestock. A cow grows slowly, but it can produce enormous amounts of meat. A chicken converts feed into eggs and muscle with remarkable efficiency. An octopus doesn't give you that kind of predictable return. Most of its body is soft tissue, but that doesn't mean every kilogram of octopus in the ocean becomes a kilogram of food. The animal has a large head, internal organs, connective tissue, and 8 highly active arms, and processing it into a consistent commercial product is far more complicated than cutting a chicken into standardized pieces. The octopus may look like a simple sack with 8 arms, but biologically, it's an extremely complicated animal. And then there's the strangest part. Octopuses are incredibly intelligent. They can solve puzzles, open containers, manipulate objects, learn from experience, and escape from enclosures that were supposed to keep them contained. Some species have demonstrated remarkable camouflage abilities, changing their color and skin texture within seconds. They can recognize patterns, investigate unfamiliar objects, and use their arms almost like independent tools. An octopus doesn't just react to its environment, it explores it. That's a serious problem if your plan is to raise millions of them in captivity. Because here's what happens when you try. You need to control the water temperature. You need reliable oxygen levels. You need to manage water quality. You need specialized tanks. And you need to keep the animals from escaping. Octopuses are masters of escape. They can squeeze through surprisingly small openings because they have no rigid skeleton. If their beak can fit through an opening, much of the rest of the animal may be able to follow. For an industrial farmer, that isn't a cute trick. That's a hole in the business plan. But escape isn't even the biggest problem. Octopuses are carnivores. A chicken can be fed grains and plant-based ingredients. Cattle can turn grass and other feed into meat. An octopus needs animal protein. In the wild, it eats crabs, shrimp, fish, mollusks, and other marine animals. So if you're trying to produce octopus meat on a massive scale, you have to feed a predator with other animals. And that creates a bizarre economic problem. You're catching fish to feed an animal that you're raising so humans can eat the animal. The food chain gets longer instead of shorter. If the goal is to produce protein efficiently, that isn't an obvious advantage. Then there's reproduction. This is where octopuses become particularly difficult to farm. Many octopus species have a short natural lifespan, often only a few years. Females typically reproduce once near the end of their lives. After laying eggs, the female may spend weeks or months protecting them, often eating little or nothing. Once the eggs hatch, the female dies. Think about what that means for a farmer. Your breeding animal doesn't simply produce offspring and continue living for years. It reproduces, protects the eggs, and then dies. And raising the babies can be extremely difficult because the early life stages of many octopus species are delicate and require specialized conditions and food. Scientists have made progress with captive breeding, but turning that into a cheap, massive global farming industry is a completely different challenge. This is why wild-caught octopus has historically been much easier than farmed octopus. You don't have to build the entire biological system yourself. The ocean already did it. You simply catch the animal. But even that has limits. Octopus populations aren't an infinite resource. They are affected by fishing pressure, changing ocean temperatures, food availability, habitat conditions, and the health of marine ecosystems. If demand rises too quickly, fishermen can remove animals faster than populations can replace them. And now we reach the part that has nothing to do with farming. Culture. Humans don't decide what counts as food based only on whether something is edible. We decide based on what we're used to. In Greece, Spain, Portugal, Japan, South Korea, and several other regions, octopus has long been part of traditional cuisine. It can be grilled, boiled, dried, marinated, or incorporated into elaborate dishes. In those cultures, the animal doesn't seem particularly strange on a plate. But in many Western households, the reaction is completely different. People see 8 arms, suction cups, enormous eyes, and a creature moving across the ocean floor. The emotional response can be stronger than the nutritional argument. And this is where octopus becomes an especially interesting food animal. We're willing to eat animals that are less intelligent and less visually strange without thinking twice. But the octopus looks and behaves enough like something we recognize as an intelligent creature that people sometimes feel uncomfortable eating it. And scientists have increasingly emphasized just how unusual its nervous system is. An enormous proportion of an octopus's neurons are distributed throughout its arms. Each arm can process sensory information and control complex movements with a degree of independence. So when you're looking at an octopus, you're not looking at a simple animal with 8 legs. You're looking at one of the strangest nervous systems produced by evolution. And that has created an ethical question that didn't matter nearly as much when octopus was simply something caught from the sea. If we can raise chickens for food, should we also raise highly intelligent octopuses for food? That question has become increasingly important as attempts to develop commercial octopus farming have attracted scientific, environmental, and animal welfare criticism. So the answer isn't that humans don't eat octopus. We absolutely do. The real mystery is why octopus hasn't become another chicken. And when you stack the reasons together, the picture becomes clear. They're difficult to farm. They're carnivores. Their feed requirements complicate the economics. Their reproduction is unusual. Their early life stages are difficult to raise. They're escape artists. Wild populations can't simply be harvested without limits. And on top of all of that, they're intelligent enough to make us question whether farming them is worth the ethical cost. Every one of those problems alone might be manageable. But put them together, and you've built a wall. The octopus isn't missing from our plates because it's poisonous or impossible to eat. It's missing because evolution produced an animal that is almost perfectly unsuited to becoming ordinary livestock. And perhaps that's the strangest part. We spent thousands of years turning cows, pigs, chickens, and sheep into food. The octopus went in the opposite direction. It became too complicated to farm, too expensive to feed, too difficult to reproduce, and perhaps, for some people, too intelligent to comfortably call dinner. So the next time you see an octopus underwater, don't just see seafood waiting to be caught. You're looking at an animal that evolution built almost perfectly for surviving on its own. And maybe that's why the ocean's strangest genius never became the next chicken. We can eat the octopus. The real question is whether we should build an entire industry around